Cheers, everybody, and thank you for once again joining another edition of Fitzy and Friends. This is the Friday night draft party. Hello, good morning, good evening. How are you? Thanks, everybody, for taking a little time out of your Bill Belichick 69th birthday celebration.
Nice.
Of course, your Joe Cardona birthday festivities and the 21st anniversary. That's right. Tom Brady being selected pick number 199 is now old enough to buy itself a beer. Your old pal, Nick Fitzy Stevens here alongside my guys from the Boston Herald, Andrew Callahan, and just down below from the Dragon's Lair, my former broadcast partner and my buddy at WEEI, the host of #Dork, Gresh Keefe is in the house. What's up, boys?
Hello. Fitzy, thanks for having me.
Doing better with every sip. Good to see you guys.
Yes, thank you. And let's pay due diligence and give props and hip-hops to our sponsors tonight as well. Thank you very much, of course. Fitzy and Friends is brought to you by our good friends at Vitamin C Brewing. I am currently drinking what I think New England has gone through since Tom Brady left for the past 13 months, thermal depression. 6.1. 6.1. Could you tell I had that line loaded and ready, Rich?
You're ready to go. Yeah.
Fitzy, at 7:15, Fitzy's like, oh, I got a joke about the beer name and Tom Brady. That's going to kill at 9:03 tonight. Vitamin C Brewing, of course, the pride of South Shore. South Shore beer is the best. Better than all the rest. 30 Moore Street in Weymouth. Follow them at Vitamin C Brewing. And we have a second sponsor tonight, boys. I'd like to give a shout to the Odds Factory, a fine source for online degenerate activity and so much more. Make sure you follow me and, of course, at the Odds Factory for their NFL draft game. The pick is in, where you can win big bucks for trying to predict who the Patriots and other teams will pick in the first round. That is fool's folly and absolute nonsense. No such man has ever been. Ain't no man can eat no 50 eggs, and ain't no man can predict what Bill Belichick's going to do in the first round. Am I right?
Correct.
Most years, yeah. Definitely this year.
This year's for sure. Here we go. All right, let's get the comments going right now, boys. Of course, at any time, put on your participants, say hello to us, give us a comment. We'll be happy to share in the joy. Right here, Lucian Wondakowski. Well, you enjoyed that show on Disney Plus, Wondakowski, right, Rich?
I loved Wondakowski, one of my all-time favorites.
Is the Dragon's Lair in Wootown?
It is not, although there is a Dragon's Lair somewhere. That might be what he's referring to. There's a Dragon's Lair. I don't know if it's a comic book shop or a tattoo parlor or what it is, but I've seen Dragon's Lair is somewhere. So somebody has dibs on that already. It's also my basement.
And also probably, Andrew, I think I'm a little older than you in terms of like going to the arcade and like pissing away money on the weekend and begging your dad to take you there. Even
Never too old for that. Maybe the dad part, but yeah, I hear you.
Maybe the dad part of that. Do you guys? You have no idea how happy I am just to be doing this right now, considering that it was 35 degrees, raining sideways all day long, and I was trapped inside the house with an 8 and a 3-year-old.
Oh my God, what do you even do?
Do you have any idea how difficult it was? It was a staring contest between me and my beer fridge from like 11 to 8:30, and I won. But damn, if that beer fridge taunted me. It's like the donuts and mannequin, like Hollywood, come and get me, Hollywood. It's another old reference.
I could do one right now, right? I mean, one. I mean, it's noon, but I could do one. It's fine. Friday.
Right. Cut to someone in Spain. They're enjoying a proper beverage right now. Shout out from Shia Tazak. Hey, drinks and gambling, your sponsors. Let's do this. So guys, real quick, what did you do special today for Bill Belichick's 69th birthday?
I tweeted at 6:08, which was a real missed opportunity. Had I just waited seconds longer to tweet at 6:09, happy 69th, coach. Have a #nice birthday, knowing that my buddy Jeff Howe would be on that later. He was. But at least I beat him to the punch, even if, again, missed opportunity. We'll just wait next time. Someone suggested reversing my phone to Central Time, which was not good, and it's certainly not good after a beer or two. But I appreciated the feedback I got at 6:10 when I was lamenting my missed chance.
I, of course, bought a ice cream cake for myself and lit 69 candles on it and ate the entire thing. So.
Rich, at what bite number what did you realize, like, I'm finishing this fucker? This is happening.
I'm like, I'm not going to put it back. Like, what am I going to do? At this point, it's just such a mess. I might as well just finish it because, if you have one day of bad eating, it's fine. As long as you're eating good the rest of the week, you should be okay.
Well, I mean, come on. When you live in our world, every day is cheat day.
Every day.
At that point, when you've got like the the cookie puss or the Fudgy the whale out at room temperature for so long, it starts looking like it stared into the Ark of the Covenant. So you just got to finish the damn thing.
It was a Sponge Bill SquarePants, and I was sitting there, and I just enjoyed every last bite.
Those are the things you not win beer contests with. The beer fridge you might get, but those are going to get you every time.
No chance.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Here we go, right here. This is what's up while we're putting away good beers. David Stone, one Jaeger bomb toast to all y'all. Rich, you would appreciate that.
I do like a nice Jaeger bomb, and then you'll have fresh breath for the rest of the night too. It's nice. It's a 2-for right there.
Andrew, we met somewhere between our obsessive coverage of the New England Patriots and our mutual appreciation of craft beer and vitamin C brewing, just like I did with Rich, of course, but I've known and worked with Rich for much longer. What would you say is your non-craft beer go-to?
Oh, that's a good call. Because the last year has been a lot of craft beer for me. I mean, I don't know if you get so big, can you still consider yourself craft beer? Because I live in Fenway. So Trillium is right down the road, and they might as well just like get direct deposit from me certain times a week when I'm not at Vitamin C. But I don't know. I was always kind of just like your standard like vodka soda going out like way back when. I don't remember what going out is like. So maybe we do this a year from now, and I'll tell you what that used to be.
Oh, it's going to be when we have the hashtag dork Boston Herald meets Fitzy and Friends live event. It is going to be, I mean, whatever. What was it? Boston Calling had nothing on that whenever we finally get all of this together.
I know.
Here you go, Rich. Elvis Gold Chains. It takes work to be fat all year long. Miller Lite and pancakes.
That's it.
Breakfast.
I love that these are like Mad Lib names. I know some of them are serious, but Elvis Gold Chains is definitely like that dude just thought about that as you were thinking about your Tom Brady joke there at
with Tuesday.
Here we go. And also shout out to another fabulous brewery, one of the best ones in Rhode Island, drinking a delicious blueberry sour from Smug Brewing in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Excellent brewery if you guys ever get a chance to swing by. I have the liver of a fattened French goose already, Andrew. However, if I lived down the street from Trillium,
oh my God.
It'd be like, Bill Paxton voice in Aliens, like game over, man, game over.
Yeah. It's I don't want to say it's rough because it's really great. I love living here, even when nothing is going on until about a couple of weeks ago when the season opened back up. But again, check back with me later. It could be much worse. Or it could be much better.
Hey, okay, we're queuing this one up for the first question when we get past the Friday Night Grab Ass and get to the actual Patriots talk. However, Rich, Andrew and I were joking around just before we started things off, talking about Belichick doing the media availability yesterday, and I know you guys parsed over it and chewed it up on the radio a whole bunch. Because why not? We were talking about it last night on EEI too. Because why not when you have this incredible one Boston day Thursday with the Sox at 1, then you've got the Bruins at 7, and the Celtics playing the Lakers at 10. Why not schedule a media avail for the first time the coach has spoken in 4 months at 2:05 p.m.?
And then that be like the lead story the next day. Like three teams all play. Like the two of them late in the season. One of them's getting going. They just had their winning streak snapped, and we're like, well, you know what? Bill said at a Zoom, and we're like, yeah, let's lead with that. But again, it's anything football is always going to be the top story, and we've been waiting 4 months since the last time we heard from Belichick. Or this monster free agency class that he just had. Draft coming up in a week and a half. Let's hear what he has to say. So it's obviously going to be big news. Although I really, and you know me, I'll look for like read between the lines and even go as far as to make stuff up. It was still tough to do with yesterday. There wasn't a whole lot in this particular one.
Yeah. Now, see, we were joking around about the idea, like he seemed so comfortable. And then of course he had like the boom roasted burn of the week. When he asked, like, hey, Rochi, how you doing? He's like, good, no complaints. And then he says, of course, like, yeah, good, nobody wants to hear him.
Oh, he loved that so much.
Oh God. He was feeling himself all the way through his pink stripe, Linda Holiday approved Vineyard Vines cotton twill extra large shirt. So that's when everyone on Twitter was like, oh, Bill's already in midseason form. And Callahan and I had tweets that came out within a minute of each other. I was like, oh, Bill's already in week 9 form. And his was like, Bill, it's like it's already week 11.
Yeah, right. I'll split the difference. It's week 10. It was week 10 for Bill.
Got him on the bye.
He loved that though. That was like the best. Like, no, he's laughing. Like that's on par with his my face joke. It's like right there. It's like neck and neck. Like what he thinks is the best.
Andrew, has he ever, like, people would love to know this because we only get like, we hear it on the radio and then our producers chop it up. and people only get what is released on Patriots.com or what they see in the news later that night. But you're there for like all the raw audio and Stacey James queuing everybody up. Has he ever busted chops with you, addressed you about? Do you guys have a relationship the way he like always gets upset when Volan asks a question? When he, well, I mean, everyone does. I mean, anytime Ben Volan asks a question, a child is crying somewhere in Metro West. So,
well, I love to hear that working for the Herald. But it's funny. I think my first season was 2018, and I remember my first Bill moment. They were playing Kansas City. It was that 43-40 game. Patrick Mahomes coming in, they're undefeated. Of course, Brady beats them. And I had a question in because they had the Thursday night game the week before,
right.
And there was someone who was like, hey, does this affect playoff positioning? Boom, Bill shuts it down. Boom, Bill shuts it down. And ESPN cuts those clips right at the start. And it's that guy getting shut down. And then me going, hey, you had an extra practice this week. That's different. What's different about that? And he's like, we practice football. I'm like, okay, thanks, Bill.
All right. Yeah,
I understand.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate that.
I feel like the first year is your red shirt, and then you kind of work in there. So he certainly knows who I am, and I've been in contact with people, at different parts of the organization. But, if you want to have that cutting it up, chop, it's always on a Friday. Because at that point, the hay is in the barn for them. He's more relaxed, at least during the regular season. But pre-draft, he was as lock and key as ever. So it's been a progression, I'd say, over the last 3 years.
And that's the crazy thing. And let's get to the first question of the night as people continue to shout out the beers they're drinking. Man, I love you guys because you are a bunch of drunks and souses. And that is the way to live this life, especially since we can't see each other but on screens in pixelated fashion. Let's get to the first question of the night, football related. And it makes you wonder, considering how comfortable he was yesterday, does he already know something or a lot of something that the rest of us don't know? This question comes from Joshua La Flama. Do you think the Patriots will trade up for the 4th pick in the draft? Rich, we argued about it all the time. When I was on the midday show, I argue about it nights with people. You do it still on middays on Gresh Keefe. Andrew, you field questions about it. You write about it all the time. This is still the dominant topic, not just in New England, but in all of national sports. Are they trading up? And if so, who are they getting? Keefe.
So I don't think they'll trade up to 4. I think it's possible. We just saw San Francisco go from 12 to 3. They had to give up 2 future firsts as well. So technically they can do it, but I don't think they will. I wouldn't rule out them moving up, but maybe to 11 or 12, where they don't have to give up future first rounders, and only if a guy like Justin Fields falls. But I'm starting to convince myself that they won't get any of the quarterbacks that we as fans want them to get.
I think that's the right answer, because the only argument really for them making that big of a leap to 4 is that free agency was so out of character for them that, hey, they'll just continue to do things they haven't done for 20 years. But in large part, that's a bad argument. So I think it's not only just that would be a big leap for them, where last year was the first time ever he made a draft day trade where they gave up a future pick, which, of course, you need to do this year. But it's also that by the time you get to pick 4, there are just 2 out of the top 5 quarterbacks left. So unless you love one of those 2 guys that you were all in on those morning after leftovers, then you're not going to do the deal. So I think if one of them slides, be it Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Mac Jones, maybe 7, 8, and 9 at the highest, but probably 11 or 12. And then even then, you might be jumping up for a corner or somebody else.
See, I love the idea, and this was something Bill Barnwell floated a couple of weeks ago on ESPN, the idea that, going up to 3, San Francisco might just get after Kyle Pitts because they realize he's the best overall talent outside of Trevor Lawrence in the draft. Take him, pair him up with Kittle, and then just double hockey sticks to the rest of the league and just be like, go ahead and try and stop us. We don't give a shit. They're not going to, because they've already gone through the progressions of saying they're going to take a quarterback. It's just which one. So now the betting favorite has gone from Mac Jones to Justin Fields going to San Francisco. Is there any chance, regardless of between the 2 of them, whoever they choose, and I still think I think it's going to be Fields, just because taking sale price Ryan might seem like the stable decision for Kyle Shanahan, who really thinks he's awesome with his flat brims in San Francisco. But I just can't see trading all the way up to 3 for that guy. So why the hell are they going to hold on to Garoppolo at that point?
So, I mean, I feel like Garoppolo, at least, I don't love him, but he got him to a Super Bowl 2 years ago. And if you think you have to redshirt your guy, because just think about even Patrick Mahomes, for example, sat an entire year and then took over and is the greatest quarterback in the league. I think rookies can play right away, but that's not the mindset of every single coach and GM. But again, if you're trading 3 first-rounders to do it, I feel like that guy is going to start. And I'm with you, Fitzy. I think Fields is a much better prospect than Mac Jones is. But when Dan Orlovsky and Chris Sims, who's like best buds with Kyle Shanahan, and a few other guys were like, it's Mac Jones. Like, I don't know. It sounds like I guess it could very well be Mac Jones. And at that point, I think they eventually trade Garoppolo despite what they're saying. But I don't know. I mean, I understand why a team – because they're built to win right now. Like, they are a playoff team. And do you want to turn it over right away to a rookie? That's why it was so fascinating when they did that, because it opens the door up to so many possibilities.
But Rich, like in all the time we spent, like Andrew, just like all the time when I was during the 2020 football season, like I saw Rich's face 3 days a week and umpteen other conversations in and outside the radio station. Like Cam Newton, every time he played like fried ass in a game and shoe topped a ball to Myers or sailed one over Damiere Byrd, like Rich reacted the same way. Like, I don't know how everyone else's parents got along growing up, but like whenever you know, like in a relationship, just like that, your spouse does that one certain something and you can just see the dinner table just like with clenched fists and his eyes closed. Or like when somebody keeps like stealing your parking spot or parking on your lawn and you're just like, fuck this guy. That, like, Rich, your disdain for Cam Newton was one of the most palpable dislikes I've ever seen. And now it's looking more and more like he's actually going to be the guy that's coming back this year. How can you tolerate that?
Well, it's super frustrating. And again, Cam seems like the coolest guy in the world. Cam's interviews are great. Cam seems like a good teammate. Cam seems like a good guy, but he just can't make the throws. And it's just like, it's so, and at the end of the year, I wasn't even mad at Cam anymore, Fitzy. I was mad at Bill. Like, you're still trotting this guy out there. Like, you're eliminated from the playoffs. Like, at that point, I don't know why they did, because Stidham right now is still an unknown. And I guess your argument could be, well, 2 games, you wouldn't necessarily be a known, but I don't know. It's still 8 more quarters of football that we haven't seen of Jarrett Stidham. So you just, by upgrading every position in free agency that they needed to upgrade, except for quarterback, just seems crazy. And like, would they possibly go into the draft again and not upgrade? Like, they have a better team now. So like, there's less excuses for getting to the playoffs and even advancing a little bit in the playoffs.
So, Andrew, who amongst all right, let's say Belichick doesn't do what we all want them to do, which makes all the sense in the world, but of course he doesn't do it because Belichick, whenever you think he's going to zig, he's the master of the draft zag. Amongst all of the other options that are out there, who do you think is the most likely one that they take?
In terms of a quarterback?
Yeah.
It's going to be a mid-round guy. Like, I think at this point, the hype that you feel around Mac Jones, and I'm with you. I think Justin Fields, look, when they were playing actual football, the question was Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. And it was like, probably Trevor Lawrence. And here comes Zach Wilson, and credit to him. He had probably the best offensive line relative to the competition he was playing out of all of these guys, and has zoomed up there to the top 3. But with 3 quarterbacks going in the top 3, I find it hard to believe that the other 2 won't go sometime before pick 12, where we are all in agreement. It's more likely that would be the closest pick the Patriots would trade up for. So at that point, I think they go, look, we can either get a guy who has fallen back to us, who's probably a top 10 pick at corner or another position, because the quarterbacks have been sucked into that vacuum that always happens every year at the top 10, and we'll just take him, or they'll trade back. So that leaves me with Davis Mills from Stanford, who's getting a little bit of late love here. Kyle Trask is a possibility. And then Jamie Newman's a real wild card there. Hasn't played for a while, technically from Georgia, but really played all his football at Wake Forest. I would prefer the Trask or the Mills guy if I'm, the Patriots. But they both have big boxes that are left unchecked given the Patriots' track record at drafting quarterbacks, and that's just a lack of experience. But you know what? That's what we're dealing with here in 2020 when certain teams didn't play any games and some only played just their conference schedule.
Where are you on Kellen Mond? Because you mentioned a whole bunch of day 2 quarterbacks. I'm curious what you think of Mond.
Yeah, I'm not big on Mond, and I've seen that a lot here, and it fits. I think the free agency version was Marcus Mariota, right? Where it's like everyone sees his potential. He's safe. He's got that great touchdown to interception ratio, but it's always you're waiting for him to take that leap, and he never does. And they changed offensive coordinators in Tennessee, and here in Texas A&M, they had good skill guys around him. But I just think, look, the athletic talent might be there, but the most important part of playing quarterback is between your ears. And for whatever reason, it's just not translating there. And he's had a ton of experience, but it's just never taken off. Never in the Heisman conversation. Never someone that scared you if you're a defensive coordinator in college.
All right, we got a comment coming in from Facebook right now. My buddy Donald D. Bernardinis Mills. I'm all in on Davis Mills. So is he? So, I mean, God, talk about God. Like the name just screams like where you grew up working in high school, or like where your dad, used to just go and drink Sanka and rip butts. And like this kid apparently like has all the tools. Wicked smart, throws the ball great down the middle, unheralded talent, should be the guy that more people are in on. But when I hear like, oh, but there's a knee thing. Like how many? Like, shouldn't that just be sure? That's why he's falling a little bit. But like, do the Patriots really want to trust Belichick's final years, all the money that they've spent, him chasing Don Shula, and the keys to the most prominent franchise in the NFL to a kid who might have it between the ears, but only was able to start like 11 friggin' games in college?
Yeah, I don't like that. I also think that with Bill, and you mentioned his birthday today, like he's probably got 4 or 5 years left as being the head coach. And so I'm not anti-quarterback, or I'm sorry, anti-rookie quarterback, but like such a project, I think I might be. Do you really want the 7th or 8th best quarterback in the draft? Like that might be what they end up with. And I understand you can go back in the history of drafts and there's probably a few. You're like, hey, Russell Wilson's a 3rd round pick and look at him. Like, sure. But for the most part, it's 1st round picks, or at the very least, it's top 5 guys from that draft class. And if you're talking about day 2 or God forbid, day 3, you're already getting into like 7, 8, 9, 10 of quarterback ranks for this year. So I don't know, like you almost throw them in the pile with Stidham and with Newton, and you're like, all right, now we have 3 guys who are all probably about the same.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel great about Mills either. It's just, I think they look at it and go, what are our options? It's the same with free agency, right? Like no one was terribly enthused about bringing back Cam Newton. And I would be probably on the more optimistic end of that spectrum, just because all the things that went on last year are unlikely to replicate when they play again in 2021. But they just go, look, the market was just way too much of a seller's market. We're not going to trade all these future 1st round picks. And if we miss, which is really a 50-50, maybe even kind of 40-60 proposition of the top 10, then we miss on that pick. Then we're missing on the next few years. So they go, look, we'll take our shot in the middle of the rounds. We've had some success there. Jimmy G, obviously, Jacoby Brissett, but they're happy to go with Cam Newton given the way they brought him back before free agency. And they just go, this is the way the draft board fell. And we had opportunities elsewhere, even if, look, opportunities at any other position don't match up to what they are at quarterback.
Just for the record, and also in the comment section, everyone asking in the middle of Keefe's comments, I obviously popped a new beer. I just cracked into. I know neither of you are big on the sours. This is a Shave Ice from the Sour Pipe Project. Keefe, it's a sour that legitimately tastes like, I had one last week on the first show. It tastes like a pina colada.
Oh, see, I do like pina coladas, so suddenly I'm back in. All right.
Yeah, I know. See, I know you're a huge fan of the cocktails and the mixed drinks as well. This is absolutely fantastic. And it's a drink that takes me away from having to think about what it's going to be like potentially to see Cam Newton take the first snap under center and have everyone light themselves on fire twice in Patriots Twitter when Bill trades back and either doesn't even take J.C. Horn, goes back and gets some lineman we've never heard of and picks up a 2nd round this year or a 2nd round next year. And then, of course, when Cam starts the season, and he'll have had a chance to either take Mac Jones or Trey Lance or Justin Fields. Earlier today, Dan Orlovsky even said it's fine to let Cam Newton play the season if they take Trey Lance. But there's zero chance. Like there's a better chance of me going to the opener in a Jets jersey, right?
Well, no, I think if they take Trey Lance or somehow are able to get Trey Lance, because I think they're going to have to trade up to get him. But if they get him, I feel like he is the absolute guy who would not start week 1. But as soon as they lose a couple of games, I'll be screaming for him starting at 10 a.m. on WEEI. And I think everybody else, like fans, will be going nuts because you have a 1st round pick and you're sitting on him, where he is probably the ideal guy to redshirt for either a full season or like at the very minimum, like whenever their bye week is, right? That's the classic, like, oh, after the bye week, like here comes the rookie quarterback. Like that's what it'll be for Trey Lance. But I feel like the Cam Trey Lance combo might actually not be that bad. We talked about it, Fitzy, before. Like that might be one where you actually are okay with Cam. Like if he is mentoring a guy like that who has a similar-ish style to him, like, okay, that might be a good duo. Whereas if they go out and draft like Kyle Trask and pair him with Newton, you're like, what are we doing here? Like, we got the same playbook, or we got different playbooks? Like, what is this? But Trey Lance, like, yeah, I would have him start week 10, or you know what, maybe even 2022, and just kind of hope for the best for this season.
Yeah, I would say that Trey Lance, honestly, at this point, maybe Mac Jones is in the conversation, but most likely to fall. We haven't heard about him in the last month where it's been all Justin Fields. It's been all Mac Jones. And we talked about this before. I think Fields probably goes 3. So then you look at the teams after there. Anyone wants to trade up to Atlanta at 4. They go, look, you have to match what San Francisco gave up to go with Miami, 2 extra first round picks, then a 3rd rounder. If you don't, we'll just take Kyle Pitts. Congrats. Generational talent at tight end for us. You go Cincinnati, Miami sticking around. Detroit could do anything. Carolina, Denver. And if you're Denver, Vic Fangio, he's on the hot seat. He wants a quarterback who can win now. And that's not really Trey Lance as a project. So then if he gets past 9 to 10, that's when you're in the Patriots range. It's just a matter of whether Dallas wants to go back because the Giants, Dave Gettleman's never traded back. I don't know if he's heard of it in his entire life. He wants to pick and move up, and that's it. So that's a guy that I think fits what the Patriots would need. Developmental guy, can have him sit, as Rich said, half a season, full season, whatever. And we just haven't heard from him, let alone he's played 1 competitive game in the last 2 years. Didn't look great against subpar competition. That's a guy I think could fall.
Yeah, I'm like everybody else. I would love to see them just go up and grab a quarterback. I've just talked myself out of like even caring or even like having any emotional investment in Justin Fields, in Mac Jones, in any of these guys, because I just know that's not what he's going to do, because Belichick's going to continue to go back and look at the tape against Buffalo and go back and look at Miami and see that they got thrown on, but mostly that they got run over. And he's going to think like, I need a high tower replacement. I need defensive line fortification. And he's just going to keep doing those Belichick things, which win football games, but don't please the masses and the mass holes on a draft night, and don't give us anything sexy to talk about on the radio or make videos about. So everyone just buckle up and strap in for more of what more Kyle. Is there a Kyle Duggar? Is there like somebody? Is there someone that we're missing that's off the grid this year that they could just like another D2 guy they could just swoop in out of nowhere and take?
Not the first round. So that delays any
trading down right into the 2nd round. Yeah. That's what it's going to be. Yeah.
All right. So with Edelman retiring Monday, emotional day for everybody. Big week for Bubs. Probably lots of Hall of Fame talk on the radio, Rich. I'm sure you guys were probably batting that around all week long.
Oh, yeah.
Going back and forth over Hines Ward, Dwayne Bowe, all these.
Bowe in there?
No, I saw someone threw that out there. Like his stats were caught like Dwayne Bowe.
They probably are actually comparable to Dwayne Bowe, I bet.
All right, so we're all in on the idea like red jacket recipient, but probably not a Canton Hall of Famer, right?
100%. It's like he is the reason why there are team Hall of Fames. Like the last 20 years, we've seen so many of them. Whether it's Troy Brown, Kevin Falk, Teddy Bruschi, Julian Edelman, and you could rank those guys however you want, but they are slam dunk. They meant so much to the team. But Pro Football Hall of Fame, like, no, like none of those guys belong in there.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. And honestly, not to hijack the topic, but I think this Edelman is more of a litmus test of, it's not specific to him, but are we setting the proper standards for the Hall of Fame? Like, does a player like him who's had a lot of team success and been in important moments deserve to get in? Because at no point in his career has he followed, the precedent set that you were one of the best players in the game for most of your career, which is what football sets. In basketball, of course, this is a much wider range of outcomes and ways and avenues you can get into the Hall of Fame. So is the basketball way proper, or is it more the baseball and NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame? That's the discussion to me, because given what the Pro Football Hall of Fame has done already, no chance does Edelman get in. No All-Pros, no Pro Bowls. Look, those are imperfect measures, but like all those guys got at least one. He has not, and only had really 6 seasons at wideout. So some of that is not his fault, but the bottom line is what you do on the field. Phenomenal postseason. If there was a playoff Hall of Fame, he's in. There is a Patriots Hall of Fame, thankfully for him. He'll get a red jacket, gold jacket, no chance.
All right, I'm with one of our viewers right now, Chris Buckley. It's not the Hall of Stats. Look, if you look at it, and I don't want to like set up camp adjacent to Tommy Curran and the other guys. And I know he wrote a book with him and covered him so closely and has a relationship. Hell, Edelman retweeted a goofy video that we made today that in honor and tribute to him. And his dad wrote me and said, like, thanks for all the support over these years. So obviously I'm super biased. But at the same time, like, he only had really like a 6-year career. If you think about it, like it was a compressed and compact 6 years, because he basically became a full-time guy in 2013 after Welker got bumped out and went to Denver to play with Satan Manning. And so he's got like this 6 years career. and his stats are pretty damn great during that time. And also he contributed on special teams, and postseason should matter as well. And that was his impact. And so that's why, at least, I don't think people should be like, all the tweets like, if my dad doesn't get in the Hall of Fame before Julian Edelman, then I'm out on Canton. Like, I think that's a little much. A little much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like, the postseason is fantastic, and those numbers are off the charts. And we had Mike Giardi on the show today, and his point, he also is a no on him making the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he had a good point about how years from now we might look back on the Patriots dynasty and say, wait a minute, they only had 4 guys get in, or however many it ends up being. Like, they only had 5 guys get in.
Right.
And I wonder if there'll eventually be a later push to get some other guys in there, because you're like, how could that team go to so many Super Bowls, win so many, and only be represented by Ty Law, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Gronk, Vinatieri, couple like Seymour, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a ton. Whereas you go back to some of those Steelers dynasty, like the Cowboys, the Niners, they had like 1 million guys get in, so it's a little bit different.
Well, I think, and again, basketball, I think the question here could be, people talk about, hey, LeBron only has X amount of MVPs, he should have a lot more. When you go back and look through those seasons, like, there were guys, Steph Curry, Giannis, who edged him out rightfully based on those stats. And I think the part that's difficult for the Patriots is their dynasty occurred in a time when there were more teams in the NFL than the Steelers in the 70s or the 49ers in the 80s were coming in and out. Like, the Patriots built their dynasty on value. As soon as you got too expensive, we'll see you out, we'll draft somebody else. So they're not here for that long. And just because they would belong in the Hall of Very Good, I think doesn't need to keep them out of the Hall of Fame. And the thing is, like, look, 6-year career, it's a bummer for Edelman than he could and basically did. But also, he could have done more in those first 4 years. Like in the position change is difficult for him, but the guys in the Hall of Fame would have said, look, beat out Wes Welker. And that's not necessarily a fair ask, but if you want to get in place where we have made this so restrictive for access and enshrinement and honor for the rest of your life, like, look, you've been honored because you have 3 rings. We all remember the moments you were in. That is your honor. That is how you were remembered. But only 6 seasons, and you weren't among the best 10 receivers in the league in any of those years, probably not going to cut it.
And I think if you're going to have like this small career, Terrell Davis, Kurt Warner, Gale Sayers have sort of shown you, like, you need to be insanely at the top of your game.
Yes, exactly.
For us to ignore the longevity.
And in addition to just being impactful and having great postseasons, you can also be the most dominant player who leads the team. The Elway was great and all, but Terrell Davis led the way those 2 years. Right. Kurt Warner, grocery boy, gets it done, and Gale Sayers was the greatest of the position post Jim Brown, pre-modern NFL, or at least so many people say, for the 4 years he had. All right, lightning fast, real quick. First thing you think of when you think of Julian Edelman on the Patriots, and who do you think replaces him? Be it already on the roster, or does it come from the draft? Callahan, who you got?
I think of just seeing him walk so slowly through the locker room the last couple of years, knowing that dude is going to look very different on Sundays. And I know they get help and all the medical and the workouts and everything like that. But that dude, we say he fulfilled all the actual cliches we throw about people that don't deserve it. And as far as who replaces him, look, it's going to be a mix. Bourne, Aguilar, and Jacoby Myers can all play in the slot. That's why they signed those 2 guys in part. But I think ultimately it'll be Jacoby Myers, 2023. Maybe it's my guy Gunner.
Oh, my first thought or memory of Edelman will always be the insane catch against the Atlanta Falcons, where it was one where we lived the David Tyree catch. We lived the Mario Manningham catch. That was actually more of a great play than it was a luck play. And then you have the Edelman catch. Like Patriots fans, I know we're so spoiled, but we got one there. Like, they needed so many things to go right for that comeback. And the Edelman catch was just so insane. Even when you watch it in slow-mo, like, there's no way he was going to be able to come up with this, and he did. Right. And as far as replacement, I don't know. I wonder if the offense is going to look different next year, and there won't even be that guy that is the prototypical Edelman, because they finally have, once again, 2 tight ends that can make plays. So I think it's going to be so much double tight end, and then like Aguilar Bourne or Aguilar Myers kind of on the outside anyway, that we're not going to see the Brown, Welker, Edelman in next year's offense, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I think it gets. I think the Coke stash, if you will, of all that went to Welker and then all that went to Edelman for all those years, goes between Kendrick Bourne, and maybe a little bit actually does go to Gunner as well. And like you said, Callahan, like Andrew, like Jacoby Myers in a lot of ways, who to me is like the Ocean State job lot version of Slim Reaper, of like Devonta Smith. Like, you are such a discount rack Devonta Smith. Like, He has no business getting open. He's long, he's lean, he's not fast at all. Yet somehow the guy creates separation every time he goes out and runs a route. I think they're going to divvy it up amongst all the guys as well. So I don't think there's going to be any one guy who immediately gets it. But the way Olszewski has played special teams, started returning punts, become an all-pro, like his trajectory looks eerily a lot like Edelman's did, the way that he graduated to it.
And he can play defense. Like, that's what he was doing when they drafted him.
Exactly.
In D2. So, like, it's funny the parallels. And Julian, for the record, wanted none of that when he got drafted. And it's kind of like, hey, like, Gunner's coming for your path. Like, thanks for blazing the trail. But there's a clip, because he also plays with an edge. When they blew out and obliterated the Chargers in that game, he has a punt return, not the one he scored on. He gets absolutely crushed. And I tweeted a small clip of this. Actually, it might have been against the Rams. But either way, when they're in L.A., he gets his head taken off, and he is laughing in slow motion as he's falling backwards. And they're like, that is a dude that is just a little bit different. And that's, of course, how we define Edelman. Like, he just relishes that pain and that punishment, knowing, like, if that's a price I have to pay, so be it. I helped my team win, and I got downfield.
And Rich, that's my first memory. When I think of Julian Edelman, I'm always going to think of Super Bowl 49, which has so many different memories. And, of course, we all just glom on to Malcolm Butler, obviously. And then there's the catch that Edelman makes, like, oh, you're talking about his touchdown? No. 3rd and 14 on the first touchdown drive, when Brady steps up twice in the pocket, throws a frickin' laser down the middle. Edelman catches it. Cam Chancellor gets a friggin' 5-step head start and hits him like the juggernaut. Like, I mean, he just like Mac trucks him in the middle of field. And you know, like,
linebacker.
Yeah. One of the hardest hitting safeties in the history of the league. You know, he's one finger cut short of being a Ronnie Lott. Hits him so hard, you know, the lights are turned out. And Edelman still goes out to play. Probably ran over the sidelines, and they were like, hey, who are you? Where are we? And he was like, Meatloaf, Sunday. All right, great. Get back out there. You're fine. And, you know, Edelman, the fact that Edelman took that hit from Cam Chancellor, held on to that ball, got that first down on that drive, and helped kickstart, was the catalyst to the 2 touchdown drives. I'm just always going to think, like, that's one tough son of a bitch. Like, that's to me, it's not even just the Banners or Bill or Brady. That's Patriot way to me.
That was the classic, like, what is his concussion test when he goes to the sideline? It was make a noise, and he goes, and they're like, all right, get back out there. Like, there is no way that guy, he got absolutely destroyed.
Right.
And yet was able to, you know, hang on and make that play.
Well, and Rick, that's a great point about his toughness, because late 2019 season, look, they're stumbling to the finish line and, like, leading that way. We all wrote stories about his toughness. It was a different time in the season. In the environment that is one of the toughest in the entire world, in an NFL locker room, you go around and say, look, who has the guts here? And all of them, their instinct is to say me. And most of them point to that dude hobbling with, like, a big bump on his shoulder, and he's got a swollen knee, and he's walking over, and you know he's going to be on the slot. Like, that was most impressive, that they all honored and respected him that much. He was truly tough in an environment where tough is supposed to be a given.
Yeah, he was just, I mean, I had a chance to talk to, I was watching the game in 2019. I had a chance to talk to his manager. Was up in, like, the Zooty booth where I'm honest, not name. Oops. Oh, hey, Fitzy, you want to pick up that name just dropped? So I get a chance to watch the games from one of the radio station sponsors. And his manager was in there. Sometimes that's how I became friends with his mom and dad and got chumly with them, who are awesome. But his manager was up there, and in the 2019 season, not that this is going to get the Patriots or Bill or him in any trouble, but he was talking about, this was during the Chiefs game. He was like, most people don't know this. He's got, like, a grade 3 separation in his shoulder. Because remember, he had, like, the quad, like, it was, like, so bad. It looked like Quato, Rich. Like, he had, like,
an extra head. Yeah.
Like an extra head. Like Quato growing out of his freaking shoulder, Callahan. Yeah. He had torn rib cartilage, and his knee was just like Jim Nance grade burnt toast. Like, just bone on bone. He was so fucked up at that point. And yet he kept going out there grinding, trying to be target number 1 on an offense where nobody would pass catch because Gordon was gone. AB had crazied his way out. N'Keal Harry couldn't be depended upon. So, yeah, just respect for the toughness as well and the titles. Real quick before we wrap things up with some silly stories and Keefe's thoughts on the X-Men, who's your draft crush, and who's the guy that you have fallen in love with, either in offense or defense, that you would love to see the Patriots select? Because, you know, Rich, we've talked too many mocks. We've had too many guys on the radio. Callahan, you've probably read way too many and talked to too many people. At this point now, it's impossible for us all not to love this guy out of Southwest, that place, state, or whatever else, either at slot receiver, safety, lineman, or wherever else. So, Andrew, I'll go to you first.
So I background covered the Big Ten for a couple of years before I came onto the Patriots beat, and I didn't see him in person, but I remember hearing when he was getting recruited. Rondale Moore, who has missed more of his college games than he's played, wide receiver out of Purdue, he's going to be a day 2 pick, is actual lightning in a bottle. Like, congrats to the Boilermakers for engineering this dude to play football, because he is 5'7", 180 pounds. He can bench press more than all three of us combined, and he can run faster than the wind. He is absolutely outstanding and tore through Ohio State as a freshman in a primetime game when everyone went, who the hell is that? So unfortunately, no one has seen him since that, because largely due to injury. He's a guy that every time I go back, you just get more and more impressed. I don't know if they'll take him, but if he stays healthy, he is going to be a guy in the league from day one. So Rondale Moore for Purdue is my guy.
I've just been so focused on the first round pick because they haven't picked this high in such a long time. And so these guys might not be available, but it's Micah Parsons on defense and it's Devontae Smith on offense. I mean, there's a chance that teams might be psyched out there. Like, there's a lot of these mock drafts have very few defensive players going in the top 10. So that could push Micah Parsons, who Fitzy, I know we've both talked about how he could be like Devin White if they push him to the draft. Love him. Or Devontae Smith, teams might be psyched out because he's small. You know what? Well, I'll take a small guy who lit up the SEC and just won the Heisman. And I love receivers. I'm always partial to receivers. So those two guys who are probably both projected to go between like 8 and 15 anyway. So if the Patriots have to move up a couple of spots just to grab one of them, that would make my draft right there.
Yes, Rich, because most people don't know. Also,
Rondale Moore, real quick.
Oh, finger up in the air for Rondale Moore in a second, because he's on the list of like short, super fast dudes I would love to see the Patriots grab. I just wanted to point out to Rich, Andrew, that in all the times that we talk draft on the radio that he continues to, and I have in my spot, and you write about it. When's the last time, Rich, that you know that you were talking draft, you as a wide receiver in high school, successful wide receiver and a college wide receiver, had a chance to like give your draft analysis while somebody made sure to comment, dedication to the panel with Jaeger bomb number 6.
This is a first, and I will never forget this.
This is what makes doing this on a Friday night fun, because during the day we have no idea. When you're out on the beat, either taking notes, watching the Zooms, or writing your columns, Andrew, you have no idea that somebody has slammed their 6 Jaeger bomb in your honor. And that's what makes
for the draft talk, fellas.
This is great, you guys. I just want to kiss you. If everybody could just do their best Joe Namath, that would be great. All right. So about the Rondale Moore thing, Andrew, yes, he's awesome. I did a bunch of columns for WEEI, and we talked about him on the radio about the Armchair GM series. A bunch of guys I thought would be good fits for the Patriots, knowing their pick, where they would be, what's a fit for their system, and of course, knowing especially how obsessed Mr. Kraft and Bill Belichick are with value. And at the wide receiver position, Rondale Moore could be like Tyreek Hill 2.0 because he's just so damn fast, misses games. There are so many. I want Pats fans to just be ready and aware of this. There are so many 5'8", 170-something pound guys in this draft that can run 4.35s. Like, there's a chance for them to upgrade. It could be Elijah Moore. It could be Rondale Moore. It could be Kay Johnson. It could be Dwayne Eskridge. It could be Tutu Atwell. Like, there's just Anthony Schwartz out of Auburn runs a 4.27. This guy is like legitimate Olympic sprinter fast. I don't know if they have Daniel Graham's hands for feet or if they can actually make plays, but there is speed to be had in this draft. I was thrilled to hear last week. I was on for OMF with Fourier and Big O last Friday on EEI, and we had Dane Brugler from The Athletic on. And I asked him, like, okay, just give me a round 2, round 3, day 2 guy that may slip through to the Patriots in terms of skill position. And he was like, oh, there's this guy, Diami Brown out of North Carolina, averages 21 yards a catch, 20 touchdowns over the last 2 years. Everyone is sleeping on him. He's the best deep threat in all of college football. And I had just written about him the day before. I hope that's exactly the guy I want to try to slip through to the Patriots. He's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like you mentioned, there are so many just dudes in there where you're like, hey, he can play. You watch a couple of games, no questions asked. It's just a matter of where he falls. And it's interesting because, I wrote about this week, but at Sloan last week with the analytics conference that they always hold. Nick Casario spoke and basically was like, more or less, we kind of just toss the 40 out the window. And it's specific to positions, right? Like for offensive linemen, they just frankly don't care. He didn't when he was in New England. And there are new people there. It depends on what Bill thinks more than Nick. But it was interesting to me where they, where he said that. And then you go back through their drafts, Sony Michel and N'Keal Harry, both in the 50 percentile or lower, where it doesn't matter as much. But then you start to wonder, look, their drafts the last 5 years, we all know have not been good. And we know there's been a change to that process. It's not necessarily maybe weighting the 40-yard dash a little bit more, but just maybe provide a little bit more zest to that receiver group. And you take one of these guys, who have been a deep threat, and you just say, get them the ball, let them do the dirty work. And it's not so much on scheme where you've relied on that for so long. And that's been great because Brady could, bring that to life as the master of that scheme at the line. Just get those guys the ball and see what happens. And there's so many people in this draft where they might just pick them anyway for other reasons, but they've got that speed to game break and go get a touchdown quickly and give you that early edge, which they really never had in a lot of games last year.
Rich from the comment section as well. Andrew, I see you're out. If you need to refresh your beer, please go ahead and grab yourself a quick one before we wrap up. Matt Mariso wants to know why isn't Rich actually watching a comic book movie and instead of talking football on a Friday night?
Oh, well, as soon as this is over, I have to watch this week's Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
done immediately. Same here.
Yeah.
Callahan, do you geek out the same way we do on all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, to a lesser degree, which I think, was it a month ago? Megan was making fun of me on this, and you kind of had my back, not totally there about, I think I brought up Spider-Man.
Rich, you would have been so mad because I had on Saturday on Fitzy and Mego on EEI, Megan and I were talking. I was sort of bragging about the fact, faux bragging about the fact that I made it through Justice League Snyder Cut, 4 hours of it in one sitting.
Good for you.
And she was, thanks very much. I still have my pin. I got everything. I meet with the group every Monday. It's great. I usually bring donuts. So Mego was saying I don't know what the Justice League is. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Out of my face. See you later.
I know. I was just and this show was going so well, Ottolini, son of a bitch. What are you talking? And then she had the stones to ask. She was like, is Spider-Man in the Justice League? And I just wanted to full Ronin myself in this. I was just
don't have time for that.
Over. I can't do this.
Well, her defense was I'm not a weirdo. I'm like, well, Megan, you're certainly not the most normal person I know. Let's just put it that way. We all have our stuff. I was like, this is Marvel has never been more popular also. So if you're going to pick a time to say this is the wrong one. Not that we just all jumped on the bandwagon, but I was comic books back in the day. I don't have anymore. But look, that was Saturday mornings. That was, Wednesdays after school, reading that stuff, following up now, every single morning.
That argument, the weirdo argument, is completely out the window. I don't care what other people like, and I don't think other people should care what I like. But if you're gonna say that not knowing about certain comic book characters like Spider-Man, it's weird to know about them, it's actually wrong. There's just more people do know about it than don't. So if you want to do that's sort of the weird stuff, it's weird that you don't.
Yeah, I'll text her. I'll let her know. Be like, Megan, you were wrong 3 weeks ago. You are super wrong now.
Super wrong.
I got 2 hours with her on the radio tomorrow, and I'll let her know, and she'll be like, "That's great. I don't really care. That's fine."
First segment.
Fine.
Yeah. Exactly. She's not gonna care about it. But long gone is the age where someone's like, "Yeah, you're the weirdo for knowing." No. You're the weirdo for actually not being up to date on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The most popular TV show in the world after Game of Thrones ended was The Mandalorian, motherfuckers. So guess what? All the rest of us out there. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
Last two things real quick. Tweet of the week comes from Cleveland this week. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. This was maybe my favorite tweet of the year. I don't have the handle of this guy, but he wrote just the other day, he said, right before Jadeveon Clowney signed with the Browns, he tweeted out, if Jadeveon Clowney signs with the Browns, I will shotgun 2 beers for every like this tweet gets. It had 27,000 likes.
Oh, no.
How long ago was that?
3 days ago.
That
ton of beers.
That stuff was out there 2 weeks ago. Jadeveon Clowney is just sitting there at home with his leg up, looking at the same Twitter we are, going, Probably going to Cleveland.
Probably
and
Cleveland.
This dude missed all those tweets.
Hold on. I'm actually give me 3 seconds. I'm checking the likes. I'm checking the likes on this right now. Guys, good news. It's only up to 32,500 likes. He only
excellent. You're going to be playing Edward 40 hands for the rest of eternity.
That is just too much. It's too much.
Does this guy have the most Cleveland name of all time? Kevin, Keven, Kevin Ledenican.
Kevin Ledenican. And this poor bastard is going to die just trying to keep up.
What a great way to die, though. What a great way to go.
He didn't say he would do it in a row. He just said over time. So he just has to chip away at this. And
if he doesn't do it right in a row, though, that his life is gone. He's not going to hold up the bet. He'll either die because of this, or he will not hold up his end of the bargain.
You got to do it.
You have to do it.
Can't look like an asshole and promise something and then not live up to it. You have to at least try. You have to.
He's in Cleveland. Have him open the draft and then just announce every pick, and our guy Kevin's in the corner doing all of the beers through day 3.
How considering that Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, InBev is the sponsor of the NFL in the draft, how do you not have Kevin Ledenican up on the stage just go, the first pick, my class.
let's get analysis after every pick.
Come on, Cohagen. Give the people their air. Come on, Goodell. Give them what they want on the stage.
So it's 60. So he needs to drink 64,000 beers. Is what you're saying?
He has to shotgun 65,000 beers.
All right. So let's see. 64. Let's try to do some math on this. So that would be 175 beers a day for a year.
Breakfast.
If he could, he's got to start early. All right, so you stretch that out. Maybe it's going to have to be a couple of years.
Year every other day. Yeah.
All right, super fast story. When I used to work at K-Rock in 2005, our producer named Brad, of course his name was Brad. He was from Buffalo. Of course he was from Buffalo, and he was a human dumpster of a person, and I love him to death. One day, he was challenged to help win a listener some concert tickets. Brad had to pass the Bud Light Challenge, which was he had to chug 6 12-ounce Bud Lights in 6 minutes. He got through the first 3 Bud Lights in maybe 75 seconds. Hit him in the bottle, chugged him, no problem. Got to the 4th one, some burps started happening. We're 2 minutes in. Halfway through beer number 5, we're at almost the 3-minute mark. The intense amount of carbonation that comes from trying to chug 6 ounces of beer in 3 minutes, he just said, if you'll excuse me, turned, sneezed, and a waterfall of white foam that proceeded to last for a solid minute came out of his nose towards the wall of the radio. And you can't do it. You can't. It's just impossible.
It's a carbonation thing. It's like eating the saltines in a minute. It's not even the beer. Yeah, it's just too much. It's too much.
Last one, real quick, Rich. The X-Men have been rebooted. New characters were announced today. Did you get a chance to look it over? And what do you think?
I am excited about it because if it's in the hands of the Marvel Studios, and by the way, the X-Men movies on their own are Fitzy, I think you'll appreciate this. It's very similar to Star Wars, where the top, Logan, and if you want to include Deadpool and Days of Future Past and X2 are excellent. And then there's also garbage movies in there. There's a huge range there with X-Men. So I just think getting picked up by Marvel and Feige, they have not done poorly in several years now. Everything's a minimum B+ with what they've done. So I am all aboard the X-Men train.
What's been your quarantine binge watch show whenever you're not doing Patriots, Callahan?
Oh, well, it's funny you mentioned Mandalorian. I was late on that. I'm generally late on shows. And look, I'll say even Bill beat me to this one. My parents loved The Sopranos when that was going live. I just finished that last week. And Bill got this I think on EEI a couple of weeks ago. As soon as the losing streak hit, it was late October. It was hey, we don't have anything about that loss of Buffalo. That sucked. What do you watch on Netflix? He was oh, The Sopranos. I'm oh, well, that's, and thinking a terrible answer, except for I had just started season 1. So we're we just finished that. Knowing how it would end. But I mean, it's look, if it's good TV, it's good TV. So yeah, old or not, it was.
And it was great. It was great, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Love it.
I'm currently in the middle of season 2 of the equivalent of what I would call like loaded tater tots every night before bed. Banshee on HBO Max, which was produced for Cinemax. My God, I mean, if every show has 5 minutes of gratuitous sex, at least 7 deaths. It is like all the 80s action. Every reason why you would wake up for like watch Cinemax on a Friday night. In case anyone just needs like their fill of gratuitous like violence, shootouts, no logic, no plot lines, nudity and more. Banshee, if you have an HBO Max, is just chef's kiss terrible. All right, boys, any final thoughts on the draft or any crazy predictions you want to throw out there before we get through silly season and get to the actual draft 13 days from now?
Oh my God, I've been changing my pick every single day, but I think with all of the looming uncertainty with both Gilmore and JC Jackson, I've sort of resigned myself to the fact that they'll either A, trade down and piss everybody off because there'll be somebody on the board they want to trade down, or they're actually going to draft a corner, which is right now not a position of need, but in the future it will be. So I don't know who it'll be, but my guess as of April 16th is the Patriots draft a corner in the first round.
I like that. I had that in mock number 1. I have my second mock coming out Monday, which I'm not going to do hey, stay tuned and just read the Herald, though you should.
We should. That's what you're here for, man.
Maybe I should. I'll just stop there. No, I in this second mock, again, as of the date, which I think is the 19th coming up on Monday, I have them trading up. I think we're going to see a quarterback fall. Which quarterback you'll have? Okay, now I'll do the tease. Stay tuned. After the break, here we go. But I just think whether it's a quarterback and I'm right or 5 quarterbacks go and I'm wrong, there will be a guy they say, look, we can go up to Philadelphia at 12. They've traded back once. They need more picks. They're in a full rebuild. They'll do the deal with us, and we don't have to give up a lot. And we'll go get our guy.
I see them. I see the inevitable burning of the timelines. People freaking out, throwing their beers at their flat screens. Social media following. They're in, and they go back and get a Zaven Collins guy in the early 20s, pick up a second rounder, then maybe use those 2 second rounders to trade up and get somebody else. Maybe it's a receiver that we haven't even heard of at that point in terms of like the 5-foot-something speedsters we were talking about earlier, Andrew. And maybe they'll go up and grab one of those guys early in the second round, or a lineman, because that's where Belichick stakes his name and his claim and loves doing his job on the line, in the trenches with the defense. So I still say they go back, probably trade back. But nothing would make me happier. I know nothing would make Rich happier. Nothing would make the viewers tonight. And thank you guys across Twitch and Twitter and both Facebooks that I have and YouTube and everywhere else. Nothing would make all Pats Nation happier than to see them trade up and just take a chance on a quarterback. Don't be afraid of success, Bill. Forget the draft charts. Forget the board. Fuck it all. Just get up and get that guy.
100%.
He seems very afraid of success. If I know anything about Bill Belichick, he does not enjoy the win column. He just stays at home.
And make sure you guys stay tuned. I can't really divulge any details because I'm sworn to secrecy and it's all part of the NDA as well. But draft night's going to be awesome. Andrew's going to have amazing coverage. Rich will be talking on the radio. And I'll be hosting the Patriots draft party live from Patriots Place from 7 to 8 p.m. on draft night. I did have a chance yesterday. I got into the Batcave portion of Gillette Stadium, the trophy room, where I had a chance to interview Mr. Kraft for a half an hour. It was pretty amazing. And I'm sitting on a hot pile of spoilers that if I were to reveal them right now, like the Peyton Manning goons would step outside of my house and they would rough me up something wicked. So I can't say necessarily what it's going to be, but it's going to be worth tuning in for. So stick around, guys. It's going to be a blast. Andrew, where can people read you? Where can they follow you? And what's next?
Yeah, BostonHerald.com, always there. You can find me on Twitter, like everyone else, @_Andrew Callahan. So that's about it. Anything there, and yeah, we'll have constant stuff up through the draft. Guys at every position where they fit the Patriots kind of profile, and then a new Patriots mock draft coming out Monday.
Keefe.
@Keefe21 on Twitter. Gresh Keefe weekdays 10 to 2 on WEEI. Also the #Dork podcast, where my buddy Davey and I, we talk movies, video games, TV shows, and everything. And you can follow that @Dork podcast on Twitter, and just type in #Dork wherever you get your podcasts.
It's a great listen. Middays, Gresh Keefe on WEEI. Make sure you definitely follow Andrew and give him a read. @Fitzy GFY, and of course I'll be on Saturdays with Fitzy and Mego. Spot starts here and there with Andy Hart all over the dial. And like I said, on Patriots.com and the Patriots socials on April 29th, we'll have the Patriots draft party from 7 to 8 p.m. Me and Megan Ottolini. I got to interview Mr. Kraft. She interviewed Bill Belichick yesterday. which she said actually surprisingly went pretty well. So
nice.
It should be a good time. Let's let everybody resume their Friday nights already in progress. Grab a cold one. Enjoy Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Andrew, thanks so much, my man. Keith, great talking with you, buddy. This has been Fitzy and Friends. We'll be back next Friday night with some of the cast of NFL Fan Therapy for a real NFL mock draft. Until then, take care of yourself. Be well. God bless. And as always, go Pats.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.